Hello, everyone. So I saw some videos doing this, and of people doing these tier lists, especially to Monster Hunter and stuff, like rating the weapons and the monsters and stuff. And I thought I would give you know my opinion on the matter. Now, I must first warn people that I'm not a streamer, not a content creator, not a speedrunner, or a professional player. I'm literally just, your average Joe, just your average Monster Hunter player. I got about like 3,000 hours into the game, so I really like the game, and I think I'm somewhat qualified to at least give my opinion on the matter, on where these bad boys should go on the tier list. And yeah, okay. First, I'm going to explain the tier list because many people don't do that. Many people just say A and B and C, and that doesn't really mean anything. So I'm going to give context to those, to those letters. The first top of the tier list is amazing overall design. These creatures are amazing design wise and fight wise. You see, the visual design and the fight are both really good, and they're the top monsters in my opinion. Of course, all of this is my personal opinion. It's not like any true fact, especially because I'm, probably not qualified to judge anything, but it's fun to give my opinion. So, but yeah, these guys that are going on top are basically not my favorite monsters, but the same monsters that I think are better well designed for this game. The second is the monsters that stand out, the monsters whose design and mechanics are really good, and they're basically a step above all the other monsters. They're not quite there yet, up there because they're not the top of this game, but they have really cool mechanics and really interesting design choices to them. The middle tier is, they're fun fights. They're not really meaningful, but they're fights that, the monsters are enjoyable and, they're in the rightful place. It's a fight, don't really stand out. These are the monsters that are just kind of there. They're not bad fights per se, but they're not really good ones. They're not the reason why you would fight this game, and the monsters that are in this tier are not really intimidating, nor really have a place per se. Kind of annoying are the monsters that I think need some more thought to, their design, because, they're annoying to fight. They're not at all enjoyable, or maybe they have potential, but they're not quite there. And then you have the what the fuck tier, which is the tier that I put the monsters that I really don't like because they're not fun to fight at all and they're kind of a chore, and there are aspects to them or their design that I really don't enjoy. So yeah, that's the tier list. And I'm gonna rate the monsters based on basically overall performance, design wise, fight wise, story wise. The where they come in the story, progression wise, their armor, their design. It's the overall performance. So I guess we'll start with the start. Great Chagris. Now, Great Chagris is a very interesting monster because he's the first guy you see. He's the first monster you see in this game, and I think his overall design is amazing. I think, like when Handler goes out and he gets attacked by this guy, you really don't know what to do. He introduces himself literally by eating a fucking thing whole in front of you. When you fight him, halfway through the fight, he just goes and eats a guy, and then starts rolling around like a bumbling buffoon. His hit zone values change. His belly is now really weak, so he has like two different phases for the fight. He has ranged attacks, he has rolling attacks, he has like normal swiping attacks. He's not hard at all. He's kind of a pushover, but I think his design introduces monsters really well. You know, monsters have different phases to the fight. The hit its hit zone values and hit spots can change, and they have like range attacks. So I think it's kind of a great fight, to be honest. He's a very good introduction for Monster Hunter, and it kind of like shows the newbies what monsters are capable of and what they'll face in the future. I think the design is really really cool. Then comes comes this guy, which it's not bad. I mean, it's kind of it's a total pushover. This guy, the only challenging thing about him is the place where you fight him, and yeah, it's like the environment, and he has water blight, which is not really not really fun to deal with, but not detrimental as well. And I think he's just doesn't really stand out. He's not a really good first monster. And this one, I think I don't know exactly where to put him, but I know that he has a very good place in the story. All right, so let me put you into perspective of how the progression of Monster Hunter goes. Right, the handler goes out and gets attacked by this big old thing, and at this time you have no like knowledge about this world whatsoever. So right now, this guy that is attacking your partner is the top predator in your eyes. Right, this guy is huge. It eats like a motherfucker. And it's attacking the handler right now, so you don't know what to do, right? And all of a sudden, this big old mofo appears out of nowhere and just bites this guy's neck and transforms it into a chew toy. This thing that you didn't even know you could damage suddenly just gets wrecked by this guy, and he becomes basically the first boss of the game. All that you are trying to do is get to this guy for the first part of the game. He's like the apex predator in your eyes at that time, alright? And I think that choice is really cool. I also think his design is really cool with the back fins and the nose and the spitting fire and whatnot. His fight though, his fight is fine. He's not really, he doesn't really stand out. I guess his bulldozing attack and his fire spit are cool. But his cool hits on values are all up there, and you basically have to attack his legs, which are not really get that great. I guess it's a fun fight. He fits really well within the team of Monster Hunter, and he does a really good job when it comes to the progression of the game, being like the first boss. And I remember when I was like exploring the world on an expedition or something, and the handler comes out and is like, "Oh, this guy, you're not ready to fight him yet." And for sure, he looks intimidating. His design is awesome. Uh, but uh, but yeah, I think he has a good place in this game in the where he is, and but his fight is not really anything extraordinary, especially later on when you become more proficient at the game. He just kind of becomes a pushover, to be honest. This guy. Now, me and this guy have a problem with each other because I know he's well designed. I know that his aerial combat is well designed because you can boop him and it's really satisfying, but I'm not well designed per se. I can't really like do the pro plays that this guy requires me to do. I use the sword and shield majority of the time, so hitting the head is really hard. Not all weapons have all the strengths as all the other weapons. But I'll put him as a fun fight, even though I think he should be in here. But personally, I think he should. I think he should be in here. To be honest, I know his design is great, but I have such a bad time fighting him, so I'm just gonna put him in fun fight, even though I think his design is good. Not really have anything to say about this guy. He has like a bunch of parts that need to be broken, and it kind of shows hunters the part breaking part mechanic and like exposing the weaknesses and stuff. I think that's really important. He also has a cool mechanic where if you throw water pods at it. I don't remember the name, the proper name for it, but if you throw water pods at it, you can like dissolve its mud armor and instantly break all of its parts. So it rewards hunters for having that extra creativity and using the mechanics of the game, and I think that's really important. He's basically his design is awesome. I like how he has his nostrils at the top of his head, and he can like go completely underwater. I think, or under the mud. I think that's a really cool design choice. That is like, I think if this monster was real, I can see this monster being real. He has charge attacks. He sprays mud all over the place. His fight is not really that interesting, but I think his design sells it. He's a fun fight. I think he shows part breaks and stuff like that. His head is not the weak spot, which actually teaches the hunters that normally weak spots for other monsters are not all the same. Normally the head is a weak spot, but when it comes to this guy, it's not unless you break it. In this game, it becomes a weak spot or becomes a weaker spot, which I think it's a cool mechanic. I think these first monsters are actually well designed. Basilgeese. Boop. This guy was the worst invader in the world. He would invade every single hunt, and he's a hard monster. He's a tough motherfucker. And his fight is not even he's not even that fun. He kind of just like dashes around and headbutts the ground. He doesn't have much to his moveset. The most dangerous part about him is the random bomb dropping that does a ton of damage and inflicts, fire blight or burning status or whatever the hell you want to call it. His fight is not really interesting. His design is very interesting, and his ecology is very interesting as well. I like how he's just basically a roaming predator. He just goes from, system to system, ecosystem to ecosystem, and he takes down the toughest thing that lives there and takes the throne and until he swags out. I like the bomb mechanic is interesting, but it's not fun to fight against whatsoever. Sometimes it's like cheesy. The monster's like resting after an attack or tired or whatever or on the ground, and you just kind of like go in and the bombs drop for no reason and you get hit. He does, however, have something very good that I like. He kind of has like this way you can fight him, and this is why I minimally like Battle Keys, because if you attack the legs and exclusively the legs, he trips, and when he trips, all of his bombs fall out, and you don't have to deal with them anymore, right? So what you can do is you have to hit his legs, make him trip, heal him, hit him while he's down, right? And once he gets up and he's out of bombs, you start hitting his legs again, making, start working for that next trip. So it's basically you just constantly trip him in order to not allow his bombs to regenerate. And I like that design choice. I fought him a few times. I fought the tempered version of it multiple times using that tactic, and it works. It works. But if you don't do that, and if you go for the big big weak spots like the head that has like an 80% hits on value, something stupid like that, you want to be hitting the head, man. You do a lot of damage on the head, but you can't because you have to hit the legs in order to make the bombs drop. It's kind of annoying. It has a cool design, hitting the legs, and its overall pineapple design is really cool, but not really my cup of tea. And the invading aspect of it is just awful, 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 awful. This guy just goes straight into the what the fuck were they thinking? This guy, everything about this guy is wrong. I really don't like Behemoth. I really, really don't like Behemoth. First of all, he just kind of doesn't fit in Monster Hunter. I don't know if it's like magic or something. I don't understand because the Leshen fits better in Monster Hunter than this guy does. And I just don't like him. His move set is way too disconnected. He brings meteors that have this gigantic hitbox that is way bigger than the game signals. In his extremeth version, they put the fence down. He hurricanes all over the place, and you can barely walk across the goddamn place. You have to make sure he doesn't hit the random ass meteors that he decides to put. It's just too much. There's too much going on, and none of it is fun. I don't like being hit from the sky by stuff that you know. It's just not fun. And he has way too many blights. He has burning blight. He has fucking bleeding status. He has thunder status. His physical attacks basically revolve around him just spinning and turning his entire body into a gigantic hitbox, or just pounding on the ground and destroying everything around it, or gigantic dash attacks. He makes giant ground explosions that you can't really do anything about it if you're in front of it. His hit zone values are not that great. It's just too much. It's just too much. Not to mention, his design isn't really all that special. He's way too big. He doesn't fit in the environment. He's somehow disconnected from the environment. It seems like he floats somehow. And his armor, I mean, I like Draken armor. It's a cool looking armor, but it was way too good. It was the meta for like months in Monster Hunter because they wanted to go out with a bang, so they released this fucking abomination right before they dropped Iceborne. And for like months, non-stop, Draken armor was the only thing that you saw. It was the meta for almost every weapon. It was just way too good. You saw nothing else unless you were wearing like ranged weapons. You were using ranged weapons like a bow or bowguns. You would use behemoth armor. There was nothing else you could do. It was way too good. It was cool looking, and it brought a lot of stuff in, the missions before it, like the Kuliaku is the fun quest, but Behemoth is just not fun at all for me. It's just not a good time. Black Diablos, I kind of wish I liked this guy, but I fought him multiple times now. At first, I liked it. I guess I should put Diablos as well in there. Hold on. Where is it? Oh, he's right here. Because the whole thing about these guys is burrowing and dashing, right? But the problem is you can't hit them while they're burrowing and dashing. The only thing you can do is kind of like wait for them to finish and, be protective and defensive or dodge their attacks while you do it. Dashing is, an attack that many monsters have, but the problem with dashing is it displaces the monster, right? You should only dash when the hunter is kind of like, sort of far away from you, but these guys do it all the time. You're right on top of them, and they dash. Sometimes they don't even hit you because you're like between their legs. And like, it doesn't really, it's not really fun. They have a predictable moveset, which I think it's their saving grace and the reason why they're not in the what the fuck tier. And they have a cool design, which also helps, but it's just way too much downtime. I appreciated it at first because, I was a noob and I didn't like being pounded by monsters nonstop that were on top of me all the time, and these guys gave me a lot of breathing ground or a lot of breathing time. But as I grew to become more experienced at the game, I just kind of like wait for these guys to do their thing, especially their master rank counterparts. The dashing and instantly burrowing, it's just not fun. The end of the dash was a big window that if you were a hammer or a greatsword, you could hit the head in that window. It was like a free damage window that you could do whatever you want to the monster because that's how they were designed. They have a big, damaging, powerful dash attack, but it has a big window that you can exploit. But if you like know their move sets and know when they're about to dash, you can kind of position yourself to where they're gonna be in order to do the most damage. But the thing is, now they instantly dash afterwards, which makes all the experience, throws it out the fucking window. Now they just do whatever the fuck they want. So I think they're just in the annoying tier now, which is a shame because they also have big swipe attacks, which are kind of hard to dodge. And but if you have a lance or a sword and shield or something that can like guard or dodge or something like that, it's not that big of a problem. But if you have like something more, they just kind of like have this huge hitbox around them. Also kind of annoying, but Devil Joe. I'm sorry, but this guy is coming over here. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you the story or my experience with Devil Boy right here. So, the Devil Joe was the first free update for Monster Hunter, right? When I bought the game, this update was almost coming out, right? And I was just getting into Monster Hunter. The Monster Hunter World was my first game. I then bought Double X, but that doesn't matter. And yeah, this guy was the first monster that was coming out, and everyone was saying online, "Whoa, Devil Joe's a fucking big mother hubber. He's gonna wreck new players. This guy is gonna be, he's the world eater. He's gonna destroy everything. He's like the most dangerous predator alive. He's like the most dangerous monster so far." And I was like, "Whoa, people are saying like a ton of stuff about this guy. He must be really intimidating and really powerful. Like, let me go back to older games and see what he was all about?" And I was kind of disappointed. He kind of just like stomps and bites. He has a cool attack where he spreads like black smoke all over the place, but he's tough, but he's not the world ender. He doesn't feel like he hates the world. He feels like a normal monster. Cue the Monster Hunter World one, and this guy is fucking crazy. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's just perfect. Every single aspect of his design and his combat design perfectly demonstrate how violent and how reckless he is. Like, he picks up other monsters and beats the shit out of you with them. Like, is that a better way to demonstrate that the monster hates you and has no care for life other than its own. Like, there's no better way to do that gameplay wise. It's just brilliant. I also like his overall recklessness. Like, he's clearly intelligent. Like, he hurls boulders at you, right? He knows how to use range attacks, and he's clearly intelligent, but he's just so reckless. When you throw him off balance, when you trip him, he just doesn't fall over and you roll on the ground like other monsters. No, if he's going down and he's taking you with you, he does this huge lunge attack at you. And if you hit him while he does that, he falls over. This guy is so violent and so reckless that when he gets out of balance, instead of trying to get his balance back, he just falls on top of you. He prefers to take you down than to secure his position. All right? This guy's everything about this guy's design is awesome. He's tough to fight. He's tough to fight. His hits on values are on his chest and on his head, and I think they kind of change when he's in rage. Um, and I think that's good. I think changing hits and values is good, keeps the fight fresh. His legs are not a very good hit weak spot, but they're better weak spot than this guy, I guess. I'm not sure actually, but I think they are. Uh, he has huge hitboxes though, and fighting it is kind of chaotic sometimes because of the huge hitboxes that he has. But he's just such an enjoyable fight. Every time he picks a monster up and start, he can do some damage with those monsters. When he picks up Odogaron or other monsters like that, he just kind of wrecks everything. If you don't flash him and he doesn't drop that thing, you're gonna have to watch out. It's just like I think his design is just perfectly done. He feels like a violent monster. He feels like an apex predator. He feels like the world eater in this game, and I think they did a good job. This guy is a fight. I don't really like him because he's so bad at his job that if he did his job properly, he would be over here. But he doesn't. I mean, the paralysis status is annoying, but not enough to kill you in this fight. You fight his minions more than you fight him, but his minions kind of just die, so they're not really annoying. This guy is just the very definition of a pushover and the most forgettable monster in this tier, in this game, I think. He's not a sure to fight, but he's not really an interesting fight as well, so he just kind of goes in the it's a fight. This guy, the mascot of the game, as people put it. I love this design. He's super cute. Yes, I love the fact that when eats crystals, you can blow them up in his mouth, and he stagger and fall to the ground and stuff. And I like how his hit zone values changed based on that. He has blast, which is not the most annoying, but not the most dangerous. Not the most annoying. It's kind of annoying, but not. It's not the most annoying. You know, blight out there. It's kind of like one of the best ones, I think. You just kind of have to roll around a few times, and it doesn't really damage you. Otherwise, his moves just consist of speeding fire and kind of like dashing around and rolling around, which I guess it's fine. I don't think he should be in the place where he is in the game, because at that point in the game you're kind of like fighting tougher monsters. You're fighting like this guy over here, and you fought like pretty hard, harder monsters than this one. I think he should be a bit early on in the game. I don't think because it's almost at the end game, which is kind of stupid because he's just kind of a pushover at that time. But he's a fun fight. I like him. His design is good. You know, he's good. This guy, um, it's just I think it's kind of annoying. I mean, first of all, the disconnected moveset, of course, that always makes a monster annoying. Looking at you, Behemoth. But this guy's whole moveset consists around you dodging its lightning and, kind of counterattacking. But it's not badly designed. It's not this guy right here where there's just huge explosions and you're just kind of like, well, guess I'll die. No, the hitboxes are actually not that big, and there's patterns to it. Like when he does a certain movement, there are patterns of lightning. You know when he's gonna do his big lightning on top of you. You know when he's gonna be doing his big lightning on top of himself. You know when he's gonna be doing like the big lightning streams, and you know when he's gonna be running lightning very fast on top of you. You kind of know when he's going to do what based on his movements. The thing that makes this fight annoying, it's the Kel being around. This guy does not stop moving. He has a really big hits on value on his end, which I guess is the saving grace of this fight, and the reason why, he's not a complete awful fight. And it's very satisfying to hit. But if you have like fast weapons that basically rely on consistency, like the sword and shield, dual blades, charge blade, all those weapons, fighting this guy is just not gonna be fun because it's just you start attacking him, he just like, nope, goodbye. I'm on the other side of the map now. Have fun dodging my lightning. And whatever. His design is really cool though. I like his scale. I like the fact that he's a horse, but not really. He's like a big lizard per se. He has scales and manes, but he's not a horse. He has a mane, but he's not a horse. But he has scales. He's a fucking lizard. I love him. This guy, this guy is kind of interesting because he has this mechanic when he pulls out a rock, demonstrating his higher intelligence. His personality is like very skittish and very, very coward. He kind of like goes in, steals an egg, and goes out, and he doesn't really want to fight. He just kind of runs away, which makes it really annoying. His rock, I think it's a very good way to demonstrate his personality. He's kind of like shifty, nimble, smart ass personality that he has to it, but it's not really a good a good gameplay choice because when he puts up his rock, he just kind of like defends himself with it, but it's just downtime. If you hit the rock, you won't move for a while because you just, your weapon got deflected. But this guy won't move as well. So you're just kind of like there staring at each other, and if you don't hit the rock, you hit the body, and he's just stopped there taking damage, not really putting up a fight. So I think I'm gonna put him right over here. I like how the rocks that he pulls out of the ground kind of change with the environment he's in. That's a very cool design choice, but I think it's not enough to save the fight. And because status effects are not really that fun, let's admit it. But yeah, I like his design. I like his place in the story. I like how he's like stealing from the camp, I like how that's how you discover the first camp. Really cool. And of course, the Final Fantasy quest, which was just crazy. It was just fun. That one was just fun. But overall, fight wise, it's just kind of there. He's kind of like in between these two. He's a fun fight, but doesn't really stand out. I think there are monsters that do a better job. This guy, oh my god, the first time, okay, this guy's design was just a little bit bad. It was just ungodly amounts of farming that you had to do. First of all, breaking parts instead of killing the monster, I'm all for it. I think it's satisfying, and I think it's kind of like, you kind of a breath of fresh air that you actually have to target different parts of the monster as the monster progresses through this area, instead of just, mindlessly wailing at one part until the monster dies. I think the breaking parts part of this monster fight is really good, and I found it enjoyable even to like do like the checklist. Okay, the horns are broken, the first front leg is broken, the chest is broken, move on to next parts. I like that, and I like the whole like organization that you have to have in order to fight this fight efficiently. So the monster itself, I don't have a problem with the monster itself. I just have the problem with the fight around the monster. I don't like the fact that you have to gather up tracks to fucking it's just bad. I don't like the fact that you have to fight multiple times in order to break its horns and for her to leave. Couldn't it just be one big mission? Because it made the farm so long, and it made the fight so annoying. I fought her so many times, so many goddamn times, and was so much loot involving her. The best weapons in the game were from her, and it's just the fight wasn't well designed. The monster was well designed, but the fight wasn't well designed, and that's the kind of thing that I don't like about this monster. Kulftaroth as a fight, as like an actual fight, as a master rank version where she's can be killed. She's just straight, she's just kind of like over here. I'm not gonna say that she isn't, and I should probably put it around this part. But I'm talking about the Kulftaroth that I had to experience. The Kulftaroth that just you had to fight like 2 or 3 times in a row in order to get somewhat good loot from her. Uh, and the whole loot system around her is just garbage. Even after Master Rank, where you can craft Exar weapons, the fucking I still haven't gotten my my Kjar Dragon Sword and Shield, and I have so many materials from this girl, so many materials, and I've wasted most of them on melding, and I still haven't got what I want. So even after all these changes, getting a loot is still ridiculously hard and needlessly so. So I'm sorry, Kuftaroth, but you're kind of annoying. This guy just goes in here. What were they thinking? Like in previous games, you could poison this guy or whatever. I haven't fought him in the old games, and he's kind of like wind thing would kind of phase out. In Monster Hunter World, they were like, fuck that. Wind resist does not work against the winged dragon. The wind dragon. You do realize that the wind resist skill that was made specifically to fight monsters that wield wind does not work against the dragon that wields wind. If that's not the most stupidest design I've ever fucking seen in my life, I don't know what is. Fighting this guy is just a pain in the ass overall. Do you have a melee weapon? Do you have a ranged weapon? You fucking main the net? I don't give a shit. You're gonna have a bad time fighting this guy because the only thing that can resist his windshield is his own set bonus that you have to farm in order to get. What? Not to mention his design is just boring. He's just a big old metal dragon. He just one color all the way through except for the eyes and the nose, which are blues and red respectively. There's nothing interesting about him. His hits on value suck. His wings deflect attacks. It's just the only fun thing that was the only thing that was fun about this guy was flashing him out of the sky every time he went up. But they got rid of that in Monster Hunter Master Rank in and in tempered versions that no longer works. Flashing them down every time he goes up is no longer an option. So you're gonna have to actively wait for him to fucking stop doing his bullshit in order for you to get some hits in. And I hate the windshield. This guy is just in here just because the windshield is just bad design overall. Even if you have the smarts and think, all right, this guy has a windshield that propels me back every time I go in, so I'm going to use a range weapon in order to damage it effectively. Nope, 0 damage. Unless you are like a fucking aim god and actually hit the head every time, you're gonna do 0 damage, 0 fucking damage, no damage at all. What the hell? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like seriously, you're not a fun fight. You don't have a cool design. You don't have cool mechanics. You're just annoying overall. Talking about annoying, I don't even need to explain this guy. This guy is just boring. His design, I get it. Fish that swims in lava. Okay, that's kind of cool, but not make it like a shark. He looks like a fucking fish. You could make like a shark where he like swims through the rocks with his big fin up, But no, he doesn't do that. He just kind of like swims in puddles of lava and looks around. And his fight is all about the hardening mechanic, which is annoying. His moveset isn't that cool. He has no other moveset other than just flapping around. He has one big fireball that explodes. That's the only neat thing about it. That's the only good thing about this entire fight that is somewhat cool. And if you see it enough times, it's no longer going to be cool because you get desensitized. It's just you have to use fire weapons against it in order to soften his eye, but the thing is, he's strong against fire weapons, so you'd be doing piss poor damage anyways. The fact that you have to like use spots to soften him kind of sucks because it's a temporary soften, a very temporary soften. It doesn't stay up, that much, and it just you can only attack one part, the part that you soften. It's not like Barioth. If you destroy a part in Barioth, that part becomes free, like until he goes on mud again, which is not that often. So it rewards you to use your using your originality and using your inventiveness and researching the game. It rewards you for that. This guy kind of forces you to do it, which is not fun. So I don't want to be shooting slinger pods at the monster. I want to be hitting it with my weapons. And I don't want to be softening it. I want to be fucking doing damage. I know it's crazy, but people actually like to do damage. How about that? You know? This fight. I think Legiana's design is really cool. Uh, but that's about it. It's just they made it like the Legion is like the fast monster. It's like the fast monster of the skies, right? She has this attack where she basically jumps behind you and puts herself behind you, Oma Moshinderu style, kind of like does that a lot of times. But its aerial combat design is just awful. Ice Blight is really annoying. Even the place where you fight her, which is like this big slope, isn't really that fun because some weapons have immediately slide down once you do the drawing attack, like the sword and shield or the gun lance. So I don't have much to say. She's just kind of annoying. She's not that bad a fight, you know, but there's nothing really. Yeah, I guess she does like a big ice tornado and she spreads ice all over the place, but that isn't enough to save how annoying she is. She just kind of like jumps all over the place. Her aerial attacks are not even that dangerous aside from the big spinning thing. She kind of like swipes her tail and bites a little bit while on the ground. Not really that, you know, doesn't really stand out. I guess she's just kind of here, but due to her speedness and her getting behind you really fast and her aerial design being awful, she's just kind of annoying. I think everyone agrees on this one. I think Lunastra is a product of game toxicity, kind of, because everyone was saying like, oh, we need harder monsters, we need tougher challenges, which is right. People want challenge, which I guess it's a hard game. People like it's an appealing part of the game. That's how it's marketed. And Lunastra kind of was like the unholy child of such requests, and because of that, she's just not fun at all. She's very hard, but she's not fun in the slightest. Her hits on value suck, just outright. It doesn't even matter if you hit her in the head, which should be a hit on value, but it's not. The front legs are not a hit value, are not a hit on value. It's not the same as Geostra. Her ultimate is just bullshit. It's just bullshit. I think this guy's ultimate is actually has bigger flare than this one, and it's less deadly. It's just annoying all around to fight her. The fire attacks, the big puddles. You basically have to move away from the fire puddles and wait for her to come to you because it's just unplayable near the fireplace. It's just they have such a huge deceiving hitbox. They're impossible to dodge because the lingering hitbox is enormous. They do tons and tons of damage. They inflict fire blight, and you have to roll around like a madman. It's just not fight. It's just not fun. Not fun. Her tail attacks are huge. She can hit you from a half a mile away. And the thing is, her moveset isn't even really that interesting. She bites sometimes. She kind of swats at you with her paws. She twerks her tail, and that's about it. The rest is just fire coming out of those simple attacks. You fight the puddles of fire more than you fight her. She kind of feels like fucking Kieran at some points where you struggle to hit her because of all the fucking lightning slash fire that exists all around you. It's just not great. Her design is dope though. I like her design. I like so she's basically better than Tioster design wise. The fire stands out more. The blue fire is way more It's way more unique than Red Fire that we've seen a million fucking times before in this goddamn game. So her fire aspect, the fact that she's the fire dragon is really good, very well implemented, and even though her ultimate is bullshit and it doesn't even it's not as flashy as this one. I kind of like the concept of overheating the air to the point where you burn alive. I like that. It shows that she's literally a dragon of heat. She controls temperature really well. Nurjagant, I think it's the top monster of this game. I think he's the crown achievement, and I think why. I think that's why they put him in the cover. I think that's why he's the mascot of the game. It's because he's very, very well designed. Let me tell you why. First of all, he's the end boss. All right? I don't give a shit about fucking Xeno'jiva or whatever. This guy, even though it's not presented as so, he's the true end boss. He's the guy that's been, hunting down Zora Magdaros. He's the guy that you've seen but you couldn't kill before. He's like the main guy you want to go after, right? He's in the cover of the art, in the cover art. You know, this guy is the true end game. This is where you want to reach this guy basically. And once you get to him, his design is just awesome. Overall design awesome. I know, amazing overall design. Exactly that. Because even both his fight and his design kind of like fit together perfectly. So let me tell you what I'm talking about. Why is he such a good monster to fight against when you're a newbie and when you're, starting up the game and getting good at it? It's because you are forced to use what you've learned so far in order to survive his attacks and effectively beating him. Let me explain. First of all, his dive bomb. Why is his dive bomb such a good attack? Easy, because you have to Superman dive. Until now, you've probably noticed that you can, in fact, Superman dive, right? But this is the only time where you're basically forced to use it. When he roars, he gives you enough time between the roar and the attack to put your weapon away, just enough time, so you can, in fact, Superman dive. That's what the game wants you to do. The game wants you to use that dive. The game wants you to use what you've learned so far in order to escape that attack. That attack has crazy damage. It will most likely one-shot you at that point in the game. It has a gigantic hitbox, and you basically are not going to be able to successfully, you know, dodge it or block it without taking huge damage. So that's what the game wants you to do. It gives you enough time, it gives you the means, and it gives you the knowledge to dodge that attack. It's just up to you to apply it. Another good thing that it does is, forcing players to stay down while they're knocked down. Nergigant has this really cool feature where if you get knocked, like you get knocked on your butt and you're like get knocked back on the ground by an attack, he will start another attack where he pounds against you, right? He like flies in the air or puts himself on his hind legs and kind of like smashes against the ground where you are. If you get up immediately after being knocked out, you're dead. You're just dead. All right? He's gonna catch you and you're gonna die instantly because that does so much damage and you've took damage previously. What the game wants you to do is to use the mechanic where you stay on the ground and you are patient enough to let it do that attack and then get up safely, because that attack has a big window where you can get up and heal, instead of attacking it. It's just well designed. It's forcing you to be patient and to use the mechanics that you've learned so far. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. Forces you to Superman dive, forces you to wait and be patient. Not to mention, he spikes. A lot of like players, I guess, may fight the monsters a little bit too defensively, just kind of like wait for them to do the attacks where they're vulnerable and attack them during that time, you know? But this guy is fought more effectively if you are aggressive and if you take 100% advantage of its moveset and of your moveset, If you break the parts of this guy while they're soft, not only do they not get hard and the hits on values don't decrease,
but it also gets knocked down, so it rewards you for being aggressive, which is what the game wants you to be. The game wants to tell you that, hey, instead of like running away or hiding behind a shield, or just kind of like running around the monster waiting for an opportunity where you can like throw one or two attacks and then running away immediately, if you stay on this monster constantly and adapt to its moveset, you will be rewarded heavily because it will cut a big, he has a lot of parts that you can break, right? The head, the front legs, the tail, the wings, you know, all different kinds of weapons work well against him. If you break and are constantly breaking his parts, this guy will not be a problem for you. And that's why he's so easy later on. Once you get, good at the game, you just clap this guy. He becomes a total pushover. And that's the purpose of it. This guy's design is to teach players how this game functions and how to use its mechanics to your advantage, how to be aggressive, how to be patient, how to use the mechanics. It's just its overall fight is just very well designed for new players, and it's just brilliant the way they made it. He's visual design, obviously it's fucking nerd gigante, dude. He's the eater of elders. He's super violent. He has huge swiping attacks. His ultimate attack is awesome. He just clashes against the ground and spikes fly everywhere. He has this attack where he jumps into the air. It's just awesome. He's the eater of elders, and you know why he's the eater of elders. This guy's fucking turf war consists of picking up the other monster and throwing it to the other fucking side of the fucking map, alright? This guy means business. This guy is tough as all balls when you first fight him, and everything about his design is just perfect. I like it. He's a masterpiece. This guy, I really enjoy fighting this guy. This guy is like fast monsters done right, because this guy is fast, like Kelby is fast, but unlike Kelby, he's predictable. So if you find patterns in his fastness, you'll be able to stay one step ahead. You'll be able to counter his dash attacks. You'll be able to, run after him every time he dashes back. Every time he runs around, you have an opportunity to hit him. If you fight him enough times, you understand the patterns and you start to understand that he's not just, you know, randomly dashing around and dashing at you. There's a pattern to the madness, and if you find the pattern, it becomes very easy and very rewarding to fight this guy. I've done some crazy stuff with his moveset where I just like backstep through his dash attack and hit him and then knock him out. Really cool to fight this guy. I think he's very well designed. I think that's how fast monsters should be designed, because fast monsters are, you have multiple types of monsters. You have like kind of monsters just stay there and kind of take damage, and you have to fight, the fast monsters. And the problem with the fast monsters is that if they're too random, it's just kind of annoying to fight them. You don't have enough consistency. Only heavy weapons with big hits can really do damage to it. So you have to make them predictable. You have to make so that there's a pattern to the madness in order to make them effectively fun to fight. you know and that's why I think this guy's design is just excels as a fast monster. He's really cool. He's one of the monsters I've hunted the most. Really dope. I really like, and not to mention he's edgy overall design. I'm not really into edgy stuff, but he's a muscle puppy, I guess. He's fine. This guy is kind of cool. I like this fight. He kind of, the part where he puffs up and he's like really cute looking, but at the same time really has a really violent personality. I kind of like that contrast. His fight isn't really that, it's not that, uh, you know, it doesn't really stand out. But his design and the scenario where you fight him, this guy just fits perfectly into the Coral Highlands. I think that when they made the Coral Highlands, they made this monster as like a as an extra package. This guy just fits perfectly in there, and he kind of has like the this guy's tornadoes but weaker, and wind resist actually affects him. Look at that. You actually have one monster that you can use wind resist against. I know, amazing, right? This skill actually works. Am I right, Kushala? Fucking hell. His tail isn't a weak spot, which I think it's a good indicator that, again, weak spots for certain monsters are not the same for others. you know You normally want to hit the tail and the head. You know, those are the two parts that you can always break. In this guy isn't the case. His tail is one of the toughest parts of his body, and you don't want to be near that thing anywhere because he swipes at you with it when he's flying and stuff. Pink Rathian. Actually, I'll go ahead and put all the Rathians in here. So, Rathian. Let me explain you why I think Rathian is a good monster. I think Rathian is actually more iconic than Rathalos. Because think about it. Okay, Rathalos is the OG, right? He's the mascot. He's the representative of Monster Hunter. He's in the fucking cover of a million games, even in Monster Hunter World. But but there's not really anything special about him. Like, think of Rathalos' moveset. What kind of attack that he has where you think, oh, that's Rathalos, huh? There's nothing. I guess there's that claw attack when he does when he's flying that is really fast and annoying and poisons you, but it's not really a good attack. There's nothing really to it. He's iconic because the game says that he's iconic. Rathian, on the other hand, what kind of attacks does she have that are unique only to her? Well, you have the backflip that poisons you. You have the triple fireball. You have the grand pacer test. You know, you have a ton of stuff that are unique to Rathian. You know, she's way more iconic and way more more recognizable than memorable. I mean, than Rathalos is, and I think that makes it better. It makes her better than him, and just the fact that her tail is poisonous and the fact that you can cut the tail puts more emphasis on you actually hitting that weak spot. Rathalos' tail, it's not that important compared to this girl's tail, you know? So cutting it off is not as meaningful a task, which makes it way less satisfying. So I think Rathian's design is really cool. I think her fight design is really cool. I think her visual design is really cool. I like the green. I think it suits her, and I just like her. She's a great fight. She's threatening. She's just great. She's perfect. She's a great fight. You know, he has really cool designs. Pink Rathian is just Rathian with extra tail action, and I'm always in for it. You know, she adds a few new moves that make her a little more threatening. Her color, I think, is nice. I think her design is better than this one's design, than the original design, and she's a lot more threatening. And she's the introduction to high rank into deviant monsters, I think. And I think this is a great introduction. I think her place in the story is perfect. She's threatening, and she tells you that sometimes there's gonna be monsters that are reskins, but not their design might be reskinned, but the fight is not. All right, and you know, you can really ramp up the challenge if you put in a few new moves in there. You know, this one I'll talk about this one when I'll talk about Silver Rathalos, which is around here. Pukei. Pukei is it's I think it's a fun fight. Yeah, it has some interesting mechanics to it. I don't know why they gave all the interesting mechanics to the first monsters. Like, this guy has a really interesting mechanic. When he eats, he becomes fat and his hit values change. This guy has a really interesting mechanic when he eats multiple kinds of seeds and nuts, and his poison attacks changes with it. This guy has an interesting design where you have to break off his parts with water pods. This guy has an interesting design where he like throws rocks around. You know, as you kind of go on, the monsters just kind of like become less interesting. They just kind of like attack you and stuff. Not to say that they're bad, but you know, the first monsters just kind of have that uniqueness to them. I don't know why, and that makes them really fun to fight. If the mechanics is good. In this case, they're not that good, but in this case, I think it is. If Puke eats Spore Puff, I think, or a Smoke Puff or whatever. The poisonous attack becomes a smoke cloud. If she eats like the Scatter Nut, they become like a projectile that can knock you out. I think that's a really cool design. Not to mention his overall design is really good. His other movesets aren't really that interesting. He kind of like flails a bit and tail swings and he can poison you, and poison isn't really that much fun to deal with. But I like the tongue. I like the chameleon vibe to it. I like the this design is colorful and it's really interesting, and I think it's a fun fight. I think it's not to mention that he fights alongside you in the Witcher quest, which only gives it extra points. This guy's fun. You know what? This guy is actually fun. This guy is in between these two because it has some interesting design choices that that make it fun to fight. And what design choices are it? Well, first of all, breaking parts off a monster is always satisfying. You know, making it weaker as the game as the fight goes on is always a good thing. That's why I like Barrios. That's why I like this guy as well. Um, kind of like just his moveset isn't really that interesting aside from the fact that he rolls around. And the interesting thing is, if you throw a pot at him or attack him while he's rolling around, he actually gets knocked out. If you attack him twice, if he first goes out of balance and then you attack him twice and he falls on the ground. Again, emphasizing the use of Slinger, just like Barrios does, just like this guy does. You know, but it emphasized the use of Slinger, which is the mechanic that they added in the fight. I've been using the Slinger more often as I've been hunting like general monsters, and almost okay, not almost every monster, but there are some monsters that have some phases to them where the Slinger actually becomes useful because using the Slinger, yeah, you can stun the monster sometimes or you can make him flinch a little bit, but it's not really that used because it doesn't do great damage and people normally just kind of forget about it. But he has very good uses if you use it at the right moment. It's just like sonic bombs or flash pods. You just have to use them in the right moment. This guy's design is cool. I like how he rolls around in the bones and he kind of sticks. They kind of stick to him, and he becomes like the more defensive. Breaking parts off of him is satisfying. Knocking him while he's rolling is satisfying. All his other moves are kind of like just kind of like I smash the ground with my shin. Not really that that crazy. I kind of tail swipe a little bit. Huge hitbox, but fine. Yeah, this guy's fun. Rathalos. This guy is just fun to fight. He's not as iconic and as chaotic as Rathian is. He doesn't have any backflip attacks that poison you, and he goes into the sky pretty often, which is kind of annoying. Again, I would be able to knock him out and make the fight a little more enjoyable, but I'm not good enough to do that, especially with a sword and shield. But he's just fun. Every time I want to test out a build, I just kind of go to him. He's kind of like my default along with Rathian. And fighting him, it's one of those monsters that kind of like as you progress don't really become a challenge. What's really special about Rathalos though is the place in the story. Now, remember the whole thing that I said with Anjanath and this guy whose name I'm forgetting, Great Jagras? Now, this guy attacks the handler. At this point in the start of the game, you can't even fucking visibly damage this fucking thing, right? You don't know how to use your weapons. He's a monster and he's threatening your friends, right? This guy comes out of nowhere and just transforms this guy into a fucking chew toy. And the first part of the monster is you training and acquiring the gear and acquiring the skills and the knowledge of the game to fight this guy. This is the first quote unquote final boss. This is the guy that I want to reach. He's the apex predator in your world, in your eyes, right? So after a few hours of grinding and fighting multiple monsters, Tobikadachi's around here, you're finally ready to fight this guy. And you think, okay, progression kicks in. It's time. It's time for me to fight this monster. And he's a really fun fight and a really tough boss. And you have to like put everything that you've learned so far to defeat him effectively, right? But this is what I like about Monster Hunter. This is what blows my mind about this game. You're going through the game. You're going through the hunt, right? And this guy, he's clapping your cheeks as he naturally does. And then he moves on to another part of the map. You sharpen your weapon, you heal yourself, and you go after it, right? You start the fight, but all of a sudden, this guy shows up. And this guy transforms this guy into his personal chew toy, just like this guy transformed this guy into his personal chew toy. And at that point, you're like, what the fuck? I thought this guy was the apex. I've been like fighting nonstop to be able to fight this guy, and all of a sudden this guy just comes in and steals my shit. What the hell? And this guy becomes the new quote unquote final boss. This guy is like a natural progression of the game. You know, he becomes the new apex in your eyes. And the game just kind of like goes over and over and over like that. It just kind of like keeps one upping itself with new monsters, tougher monsters, cooler monsters. This is why I think this guy is so great, because he's the coolest, most terrifying monster of all, and he one ups all of the other ones. He's the eater of elders, so even the fucking mountains can't deal with him. Where is he? He's right here. Even not even the mountains can deal with him. So you know, it's just progression in Monster Hunter. I think it's top notch. It just keeps one upping itself and giving you reasons to become stronger. The game is not telling you why you should become stronger. You can feel why you should become stronger. You don't need the game to explain you, oh my god, this monster must be tougher than this monster because, you know, this guy beat this guy and this guy is stronger than this guy because you don't need the game to tell you that. You can see it. You can feel it. You can feel that you are having hardships against this guy, and this guy just comes in and fucks the shit out of this guy in 1 second, picks him up, throws it onto the ground, spits fire onto it, and swags out. Dude! The fuck have I been preparing for? Am I right? This is why this is such a great. This is why this is such a in such a great place. I think it's just good. It's just well designed. Next, this guy. I'm gonna do a controversial stuff and put him in the it's a fight. There's not really anything standing out to this guy aside from its Nova. Its design isn't that appealing, its fight isn't that appealing, its element isn't that appealing. I mean, oh my god, a dragon that controls fire? Are you kidding me? I've never seen anyone, I've never even seen fire in this game. What are you talking about? Come on. The only good thing about this guy is the Nova, which is very flashy and very dangerous, and it's like that tense moment in the hunt where there's a huge explosion in either everyone dies or everyone is safe and you keep hunting. You know? He has really weird dash attacks that he just kind of boops you on with its nose and knocks you out, and it does a ton of damage. Okay, it doesn't do that much damage, but you know, it does damage, and I think it's like a lazy move in my opinion. He kind of just like swaps at you and swats at you and like wiggles its tail just like Lunastra does. It's just Lunastra, but it has a worse design, but it's a little bit more fun to fight and not so annoying. He's, you know, he's not exactly boring to fight. He's not annoying, but he's not really that fun either. I think he's just, you know, it's meh. This guy, I think he's good. He has this thing where he crawls up into a tree, right? And if you shoot him with a slinger pot while he does that, he falls on the ground. So that's a really cool way of, you know, rewarding players for their creativity and use of mechanics in the game. Really cool. He has Thunder Blight, which is kind of like the least annoying blight in the game. It's really flashy, but it doesn't, you know, it can knock you out and fucking stun you and, you know, do all those bad stuff that you don't want to happen. But otherwise, it's just. I think he's good in the place. He doesn't really stand out, but he's a great fight. His design is dope. He's kind of like a squirrel leopard thing. He doesn't really fit in the forest. He's way too bright, but you know, what are you gonna do? He's cool looking. That's all you need. He has thunder. That's all you need. I like also one thing. I like how his tail is a bigger hitbox. He has a higher hitbox than his face has. Now this is important, especially once you're like, because he's one of the starter monsters. So you fight this guy right at the start of the game, and this is important for new players because even though the face might be a good hits on value, might not be the best hits on value, and you can be even more effective if you hit some other part, kind of like the chest and the face of Deviljho. You know, you kind of want to be switching and swapping between them, and that I think that's important. That teaches players a good thing because at the start of the game, you're damage numbers kind of like don't pass the 50s, you know? So if you hit the head and you see a 50 and you hit the tail and see a 60, you can deduce that, you'd be doing more damage in the tail. Even though the head is also a great spot to hit it, the tail is more important. And, there's stuff, for example, in Devil Joe, where or Nergigante, where you can hit its front paws, but its head is also a better weak spot. Stuff like that, you know, where you kind of like know your place with your weapon and stuff. Tsuyaku is just it's a fight. His main feature is that he flashes you, and that's about it. It's very easy to deal with it. It's not a threat at all. Even in master rank, when he kind of tries to juke you by going to different directions, I think that's a good design choice to its part. It makes it a little bit harder to fight, but he's still a pushover. You can break his head, and the flashes just become even weaker than they were before because you can deal with the flashes really easily. You can either you know, you can either fucking defend yourself, like with a shield, if your weapon has a shield, which is about 50% of the weapons. You just don't have to deal with it. You can just press R2 and boop, there you go. You don't even need to press R2. You can just run towards the monster because it takes so long for him to flash you. If it was like a faster flash, it might have been more intimidating, but it isn't. And even if it was a faster flash, if the flash was faster, it would make him annoying because it's just not that good of a mechanic. He just kind of like swats at you with his feet and twirls around and jumps, which makes it kind of annoying to fight. But you know, you can deal with him pretty easily. I guess it kind of shows the players that sometimes you have to break parts that make the monster more dangerous. But you kind of knew that with Rathian. I don't know which one you fight first actually. I don't remember, but I guess it kind of emphasizes the point where some monsters have weapons to them that you're gonna have to break off, which is good. It's a good thing for new players to understand. But other than that, not really anything special about him. Doesn't really stand out. They made this guy and they were like, okay, this guy is pretty fun to fight. He's a pretty fun fight. But what if he wasn't? And this guy was born. Actually, I think this guy was born first. But never mind. This guy is just boring to fight. He rolls around. You can't do anything about it. You can't knock it out, even if you have slinger pots. Even if you attack it, you can't do it. It's not the same as this one. You just kind of have to wait for him to finish his stuff. He has an attack when he just kind of like rolls around all over the place. And yes, it is intense, but it's also downtime. And it's annoying. Not to mention the bombs. Bombs is never a fun mechanic. It's never a fun mechanic to have bombs. I'm sorry. I don't want to have to deal with stuff that you spread all around the battlefield and explode and take 50% of my health and inflict burning status, and I'm gonna have to roll around for a million years in order to take it out. I don't like that. Alright? I like fighting stuff. I like hitting stuff, alright? You can break his jaw and you can cut his tail, but other than that, it's just not that remarkable at all. Even in the old games, he was kind of like, monster. So that's what he is. He's a meh monster. Paul Hazak is a total fucking pushover. Beating him is like beating the pole. Seriously. His main thing is the effluvium, right? But if you have a health augment, it's bye bye effluvium. There's no if you have effluvial resistance, it's bye bye effluvial status. But if you have a fucking health augment on your weapon, then this guy can literally do nothing to kill you. He has like some big hitbox, tail attacks or some stuff. He does some dash attacks, but he's just not dangerous. He's very slow. All of his attacks have very big windows that you can exploit. His hit zone values are amazing. His entire body is a fucking weak spot, I swear to god. It's like hitting the goddamn pole. Fighting this guy is like hitting the pole for like half an hour. He has a very big health bar because the developers kind of knew, at least it feels like he has a very big health bar. And I think that's because the developers kind of knew that he would be taking a lot of damage. And I guess it kind of ties in with the whole being undead and therefore not really caring about being damaged stuff. You know, his design is really dope, gotta say. I like the undead slash I control effluvium slash, I'm a eel dragon. His design is really cool. I like how he like sucks the life out of things. If you are inflicted with the status and he sucks his effluvium, you lose a lot of health. You know, it's just I think his design is really cool, but his fight is kind of bleh. It's not fun. It's actually fun to just hit him over and over again while he does nothing and waits for you to die of a disease. But it doesn't really make it interesting to it or as engaging as these guys. This guy is kind of in between these two. You know, I think the only thing that saves it from being here, it's its design. I understand what they were going for. You know, he's the final boss. He's the Sapphire Star. He's the alien dragon. The only thing that saves it from being on the what the fuck tier is the fact that he has cool laser attacks and cool explosions and cool stuff to it. And his design is really, really good. Other than that, ugh. I swear to God, the first time I thought this guy was with a hammer, I almost ran out of time. I beat him with a hammer for like 49 minutes straight. He's not that much of a threat, and his big design is kind of a hindrance because he's not in your screen entirely, so you have no idea what he's capable of doing. That's the problem with big monsters. You kind of have no idea what they're doing because you don't have they don't fit in your screen. So when they do an attack, you just kind of see an explosion in front of you and you don't know what happened. You don't know what led up to that. And yeah, his design, his fight is awful. It's just annoying as hell. And he has like big dash attacks. Luckily, his hit on values don't suck. His chest is a very big hit on value. His hands, front hands, is a very big hit on value. His head as well. The fact that you can knock him while he's in the air while using slinger pods is really great. I think they got rid of that in his arc tempered form. I think it's fucking stupid, but fine. He had new attacks and stuff. I like the big wave explosion attack. I like that you can jump over it with an insect wave, which is basically the only fun way to fight this guy, in my opinion. Just use an insect wave. He can't do anything to you. You just kind of over there in the air twirling, and he just kind of takes the damage. Just use an insect wave against this guy. Seriously. Oh my mouse stopped working. All right. This guy, I think I can speak for everyone when I said this guy is just the pinnacle of boredom. What the fuck were they thinking? Oh, you go and you run around and you hit some rocks, and that's about it. Thank you, game. What the fuck? What was the idea behind this guy? His design is, I mean, he's cool, but he's not that cool. I kind of like how big he is, but he's not so gigantic that it's, unfathomable. He's just a big old monster. And, you know, loading cannons is not really that fun. Firing bullets is not really that fun. Even his arc tempered fight was kind of a pushover. It was really very easy. I don't know. This guy. Where's the other one? All right. So I will put this guy over here. This guy's really great fight. It has some flaws, like the fact that you can just grapple onto his feet with a clutch claw, right? And he has no attack where he uses his feet aside from the jump attack. So his feet are a very big weak spot per se, because he only uses his tail and his mouth. There's no attacks. He doesn't stomp, nor like he doesn't like hip check or shoulder bash or anything like that. And yeah, there's no attacks that so he can just like tenderize his feet and hit his feet all the way through the fight until he's dead. But I like his design. I like the way he jumps from side to side and swings your sword at you, and I like how he swings his sword twice when he's in rage. And you kind of like have to dodge from side to side, and he kind of like moves around you, and like shoots you, and then starts running to the side and shoots you again. I like how it's like fighting a real swordsman, back and forth, swinging twice, he also has really flashy attacks, like the attack where he sharpens his tail, which has a very big window but does very big damage. So if you know the timing, you can take advantage of it and like backstep through it or counter it, or do all that stuff. I like those types of attacks. With the lance, you can just grapple onto him, no problem. Really, really cool design. I really like him. And I knew that I would like him because in the old world he also fought like that. He also fought like a swordsman. I think his design is even great in the old world, which is something that I don't not always say. This guy, it's basically this guy with status effects, but he has two phases to his fight. You know what? I think I put him in the same grade. Fighting this guy, he has like way more chaotic moves, but there's a pattern to them, and you can like figure it out. And it's really fun to fight. The status is not really that fun, but it's not really that, you know, you just kind of take more damage. And I like first inflicts you with a status, so you take more damage, and then he sharpens his tail, and it becomes like a blade, fine blade that he can attack you fast with. Really dope. Really like his design. Really like the idea behind it. Acidic was not expecting that really out of the blue, but it super works. It's a great design. It looks dope. It fights dope. It's just dope, you know. What is my opinion on you? I don't know, but you kind of go in between these two, to be honest. This guy is dope. All right, his armor is dope. He has a really cool set bonus. His fight has a bunch of attacks that you have to adapt with. Like a bunch. I think he's one of the monsters that has the most attacks. And like the most dangerous attacks, you know? Fighting him is fun, and I like the thrill. You know what? I'm gonna put him up here. The thrill of fighting this guy with a team is top notch because you have to knock him and you have to break its horns and you have to like program all that stuff in order to make the fight effectively. It's really tense, and every time the eschaton judgment comes, it's like it's like the oh, did we knock him? Did we knock him? Did we knock him? Oh yeah, we knocked him. You knocked him. All right, it's fine, we're fine. It's that part where it's just like, oh, wait a second. I have to remember, did we knock him? Oh yeah, we did knock him. All right, we're safe, we're safe. On to the next phase we go. It kind of like gives you a breather moment, but at the same time, it's really tense. And the eschaton judgment, it just looks fucking dope, dude. The screen goes silent. There's flash everywhere, It's really flashy, really powerful looking. And it's a Latrion. He controls all the elements. So having like two eschaton judgments, like a fire one and an ice one, really dope. I really like his design, and I really like his fight. And I like how I like how his back legs are actually a weak spot, which is, I think it's the only monster that has that. And the fact that his back legs are a weak spot makes it so that the fight is way less annoying, because even though his front paws are a better weak spot, and are easier, and they're not easier to hit, but they're better weak spots. So it kind of like rewards, if you are a little bit more bold and a little bit more confident, you can go for the front legs. But if you don't want to risk it, you can just go for the back legs and just hit him, and you won't do crap damage, and you actually contribute to the team. So when he's like on his hind legs, or when he's like doing his thunder attack, and you don't want to like move around because you want to pay attention to the thunder, you can just attack his back legs, and that's no problem. I like the breaking parts of it. The breaking his horns is not insanely fucking hard looking at you, Lunastra. So it kind of feels balanced. If everyone does their part, and if everyone knows what they're doing, you don't need a lot of coordination. You just need to know how the fight works, and it will automatically reward you for it. As long as he's down, you attack the head, no problem. Make sure you knock him out of his, make sure you knock him so the eschaton doesn't kill you. You got that. Use elemental weapons. Everything is very well explained, and everything is very kind of like intuitive. It kind of like rewards you for doing what you would do for a monster, just fighting it normally. I like that. Bombaro. Mm. And me and Bombaro have a kind of a tough relationship. I really, really like the fact that his charge attack adapts to the design of the landscape. So if he's in a forest area, he kind of like drags trees along. If he's in a rocky mountain area, he drags rocks. If he's in like volcanic area, he drags like lava balls. Really dope on that part. But he's one of the worst invading monsters. He kind of suffers from the same problem Basil he suffered, you know? Where he's just everywhere way too often and he's just annoying to deal with. His charge attacks have a very big like window where you can attack it, but they're so big and he does it so often and it's just it's just hard to deal. His design is awesome though. I love his design. The problem is his design doesn't really fit with all the elements. I think making him a nomad monster was a really bad decision. He's one of the worst monsters to be a nomad. Look at his design. Everything about him says, I'm snowy and I live in snowy areas, so why the fuck would you be in the fucking volcanic area? Why the hell would you be up on the mountains? Why the hell would you be in the Coral Highlands or in the Crystal Caves? Elder Z says, why? What are you doing there? How did you get there? You're a big old buffoon, like a fat boy. You kind of like you're not mobile enough to get to the Coral Highlands. You're not, it's just it doesn't fit in the majority of the environments. It only fits in the snowy one, you know. So yeah, even though his design is really cool and his attacks are really cool, they're kind of annoying to deal with, and it's kind of annoying to deal with him all around. So yeah, kind of annoying. It's a fight. I think it's kind of annoying the fact that he jumps all over the plate and all over the place, and Ice Blight is annoying. But I like the fact that you can break his fangs and break his arms, and it rewards you for breaking them with a knock, which is kind of the same thing that Tigrax has, and kind of the same thing that all the monsters that share this skeleton have. His design is really cool. I like him, even though he looks chunky. He's very fast. I like some of the attacks that he has when he launches and he spins around, and the ice tornado is actually kind of cool as well, even though it's kind of annoying. But it's just doesn't really stand out. He's a cool fight, but not that cool, and he's annoying fight, but not that annoying. This guy, I think he's a fun fight. I think he's like the best fish monster out of all these. He's like the top tier. He causes ice blight, which it's not that fun, but it's not that detrimental either. But he has really cool stuff to his design. First of all, the horn. I like how the horn is really cool. You can break it off, and I kind of like he swims through the snow. You kind of see his horn. It's kind of like the idea I had for lava, but for snow. And this is exactly what I wanted, but for lava. So this guy is kind of like, my dream fish monster. He has this really, really cool attack where he jumps back and then launches at you and then lands, and there's like a bunch of smoke everywhere, and you kind of see him appear through the smoke. Really cool attack. Otherwise he just kind of like flaps around and wiggles through the sand. Not really that, not really meaningful. Again, I guess he's just a fun fight, and I think he's a very good introduction for Iceborne. I think Iceborne was like, yeah, this is like our fish monster. This is like Iceborne's fish monster. If this is Iceborne's fish monster, then you know, the rest is gonna be good. It's like a very good introduction for Iceborne, I think. Um, this guy goes here for the same reasons as the. Actually, he's kind of like nah. He goes here. His design is a little bit cooler. I like how you can't flash him unless you destroy his head. Really dope. But he has the same problem as the first one. He's a punching bag. He just kind of stands there and waits for you to die of a deadly disease. And just kind of like has hits on values, all amazing hits on values all across the body. You just do tons of damage with it against him. Doesn't matter where you hit. You hit the head, you hit the wings, you hit the goddamn whatever. He just has amazing hits on values. He has a bunch of parts you can soften though. You can soften the head, you can soften the chest, you can soften the hands. It's all at hunter level. You don't have to like go up to the wings or anything like that. You can also soften the tail. So you don't really like. If you soften him up, you do even more damage. You know, it's just a punching bag. I do like his ultimate. His ultimate doesn't really stand out, but it's a kind of like an area of effect, kind of arena like, where you either inside or outside of the circle. And if you stay in the middle, you kind of take lots of damage. And he acts as a cool smoke screen for his next attack. So if you get too far away from him, which is the thing you should never do against Valhazak, he kind of like just sprays you with his beam. And I think that's a cooler design choice. You know, I would put him here. It's not. It's Valhazak and Blackveil of Valhazak are not exactly. Wait, yeah, they're not exactly annoying. Actually, I think I should put him here. They're not annoying to fight. They're actually kind of fun because you do a bunch of damage against it, but they don't really have anything special to them. And the effluvium is kind of annoying to deal with, but then again, health augment and effluvial resistance kind of negate anything that these guys have to offer. So yeah, I think it's a fight. Not doesn't really stand out. It's the perfect description for these guys. This guy's kind of annoying. Not gonna lie, his design is really great. I like how he's basically trying Tyrannosaurus Rex if the Tyrannosaurus Rex went, fucking went for Arm Day. His slime is what really makes this guy annoying because you know you have to bring blast resistance. It's almost mandatory to fight this guy because he puts these puddles on the ground and it lasts so long, and then they explode and they inflict blights, and it's just, ugh, come on. He has some attacks that are a little bit fishy. He has like this dash attack where he dashes at you and punches the ground next to you, and the hitbox on that one is a little bit weird. He kind of sometimes it kind of doesn't connect well, I guess. Sometimes it seems like you get hit by it, but you don't, and sometimes it doesn't seem like you get hit by it, but you do. And sometimes it seems like it doesn't matter where you dodge, you're gonna get hit, and sometimes you just kind of don't do anything and dodge it. It's kind of weird. But yeah, it's just his design is really cool though. He's like in between. It's a fun fight and it's annoying. It's not. He stands out. His design definitely stands out, and he's a favorite amongst people. But not in my book, in my opinion, not really that great. His design is cool though. This guy's a fun fight. I like this guy. This guy is basically this guy, but where is he? Oh, this guy is basically this guy, but more fun. Actually, let me put that right there. Yeah, this guy is basically this guy, but more fun. The roars are way cooler to deal with. They're very predictable, and he does them all the time, which gives you like, if you can play well, you can exploit that and do damage against him. I really like the fact that you can break this guy's arms off, and they get fall to the ground. You know, really cool. You kind of have to manage the fight. Their dash attacks are absolute fucking garbage. They have like multiple hitboxes. Monster Hunter World kind of has this mechanic where if you get hit by an attack once, even if you block it or dodge it or whatever, not dodge it, but if you block an attack or get hit by an attack, even if the hitbox of that attack lingers and you get hit by that hitbox is already deactivated because you already gotten hit by that. If you defend this guy's fire attack with a shield, you can just stay there and hit the guy while he's spraying fire in your face because the hitbox, although it's lingering, it already had its effect. It already hit your shield, so you can do whatever the hell you want with it. This guy's dash is not like that. This guy's dash has multiple hitboxes, so even if you defend it once, he just turns around and hits you. Like even he's on top of you, he turns around and then just hits you from behind and hits you multiple times. It's kind of not fair, you know. Especially this guy. This guy doesn't dash as much, and that's why he's a fun fight. This guy dashes all the time, and in the famous words of Jinjings, it's just a cutscene. It just goes on a 20-second cutscene every time he starts dashing. It's not hard at all to dodge his dashes. I kind of think he was better well designed in the older game where you would like be able to strafe him and kind of like be around him when he dashes, but now he has this stupid tail attack where he spins around and damages everything in the vicinity and has like a huge super fast hitbox. and you kind of have to stay well away from him if your intentions is not hitting him or defending. If you don't have a shield, you're gonna have a hard time fighting this guy. This is why I think weapons with a shield are like way better against this guy. Just defend. Weapons with the shield are just better against dashing folk. Just overall, just to put your shield up. This guy won't be able to do much, but don't put your shield up when he turns around. Just. This guy, this guy's fun. This guy's a big old fun, goofy guy. I like him. I like what he did that. I like the fact that he sprays water through his butt. There's one problem about this guy. You cut his butt off, and he doesn't really have anything to attack you with, so he kind of has the same problem as this one. Well, he does have something. He does has his head. He spits water, and I like the fact that he like spits a stream of water and separates it in two with his tongue. Very cool. I like his ultimate attack when he spins around and like sprays water all over the place. Is really cool. I like his design. He kind of has the same consistency across where they just kind of like stop the fight to go get something. In this guy, it's nuts, so he can like emphasize his poisonous attacks. And this guy is water. His design fits perfectly within the Coral Highlands. I love the fact that he's a water monster. It's just dope. This guy is just dope. And when he was revealed, he was one of my favorite, one of the monsters I was expecting to fight against the most because his design was just so unique and so bright. He doesn't really bring anything new to the table, and his design choices are good, but they're not that great, but it's a fun fight. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to have. You just need to have fun against this guy. Not all monsters need to be fucking masterpieces. This guy, I fought against this guy a lot, but I don't remember his fight really well. I do remember he's fast, and I think he's a little more unpredictable than this guy. He can like jump in the air and spit at you, and now he has very, very fast attacks that are like dragon based. And I don't really welcome those changes. I kind of like the original better, to be honest. So where do I put you? Hmm. I don't know. I mean, you're a little bit more annoying. You're definitely harder. Uh, but I don't know where to put this guy. I guess I just put him in a fun fight. I guess. Yeah, it's a fight. It's not as good as this one, I think, but it's a challenge. And his design is awesome, and his gear is one of the best looking ones. So yeah, you're in there. All right. This guy, same thing. Uh, he has like a really cool dashing uh, thunder attack, which is makes makes him really dangerous to fight and can like dashes and one shots everything on his way. Really cool when he does that, and when one of your party members just dies, and you're like, "What the fuck? He wasn't on the other side of the fucking map." Yup. His attacks are like his bite attacks are really have really long cooldowns, and they're kind of predictable, and they don't do a lot of damage. I don't know what's up with that. His design though is dope. I think it's a little bit over the top. I think the whole lightning and the different colored parts of the body, it's a little bit too much, but it kind of fits within the icy theme of Iceborne, so I'll let it slide. This guy's a fun fight. This guy, okay, to talk about this guy, I'm gonna have to talk about this guy. And this guy, in my opinion, just goes over here. And again, let me tell you why. So let me just take out this real quick. Let me tell you why I think that's the case. It's the exact same thing with Devil Drill. This guy is a badass, all right? And even in the old world, unlike Devil Joe, even in the old world, you could see why he's a badass. He turns Super Saiyan, he fires beams from his mouth, he can pick up an entire fucking boulder and hurl it at you. In the old world, people were saying that this guy was gonna be one of the hardest monsters ever, and I can understand why they said that because it seems like one of the hardest monsters ever. His violence and his recklessness and his overall just wanting everything but itself to die is seen through gameplay. Just like, unlike Devil Joe's, which they changed that in the new world, but old Devil Joe was just kind of goofy. This guy was tough, even in the old world. But they made it even tougher in Iceborne, I think. It's just fighting this guy is chaotic. Is he does not stop. He must have one of the higher actions per minute of all monsters in this list. I swear to God. Like in the almighty words of Herney, this is like young Link in Smash. This guy does not stop. It's like, and I kind of understand why, because he was known for being like hyperactive in the old games, but the old games were much slower than Monster Hunter World was. In Monster Hunter World, everyone is more mobile. Everyone is more, the mechanics are a little more forgiving. You have a little more room to breathe and be effective. And the problem is when you do that, these types of monsters kind of like lose power. So you have to like compensate for that. And boy, did they compensate, you know? Another thing that I like about this guy is that he's much better designed than he was in the old world, especially like his hitboxes and stuff. Like he had a bunch of problems. His hitboxes were a little bit whack. He sometimes just fucking attacked nothing for no reason, and his AI was all over the place. And now he's a little bit more streamlined. He seems like he's just his AI and his attacks and his hitbox are just improved. His hits and values are changed, which I think is a good thing, because if they were like they were in the old game, this guy would just be raped, because he used to be a walking hitbox and now he's not, which I think it's good. But let me tell you the reason why I think this guy is one of the greatest, and it's because of his personality, just like Devil Jones. This guy is a monkey, and monkeys are smart, right? And you can see that because when you grapple onto him, he rips you off the shoulder. And like no other monster does that. No other monster punishes you for recklessly grappling onto it. And I think that's a great counter against people who just kind of like spam the slingshot, or the flinch shot, and the softening thing. You cannot do that with this guy. You have to know his windows very well. When he does that twirl punch, that's a window. When he does this beam attack, that's a window. Most of his attacks now are very deadly. Even like the beam attack is very deadly. So he's kind of like much different than he was in the older games, but now he's like turned up to 11. He no longer throws the entire map at you, which I think it's a bummer. I wish I could see that, but But he has other stuff, like when you knock him and he grabs onto a wall and then dashes onto you. You know, in his fucking in this state, if he grabs you, he kind of like he kind of like smashes you against the ground and breathes lightning onto you, and then smashes other players with you. As soon as they see you, like they're the only monster that as soon as they see you, they wait 0 seconds, they attack you immediately. So gameplay wise, you can see his rage, you can see how strong he is, and you can see how violent he is, you can feel how violent he is, because he's just so energetic and fast and powerful, and his turf wars are amazing. Even against Devil Joe, he just punches the shit out of every single monster that he comes across. He completely dominates the environment, and he kills everything that he sees. And that's not just the game telling you, oh, these two are really dangerous, watch out for them. No, that's you. You know that this guy is really dangerous, because sometimes you're just walking around and you get punched in the back of the neck by a huge fucking monkey. You don't need the game to tell you, oh, that's really dangerous. You can feel it through gameplay. That's how you do it. That's how you make a dangerous monster feel dangerous. I know that some people have complaints about his design and how his windows are too tight and he's too fast, and he's just, he has the kind of like thing where you counter him, he counters you, you counter him, he counters you, and sometimes there's just nothing you can do against him. And I think that's significant to its design. That's how Rajang is. That's how this monkey does its business. He's just a vile, violent monster. And I think you can feel the desperation when you fight him. He's hard to hit. He Kelby's around very, very often, but he has these these like golden attacks where he does. He has like a little bit of window, and you can hit him during that window. Like as I said, the twirl punch and you know what I'm talking about. If you fought him enough times, you know exactly what windows I'm talking about. Same thing applies to this guy, but there's a big problem to this guy. They got rid of his tail hit zone value, which was the only or the most viable way you could hit him, you know? And I'm fine with all the stuff that they did with Rajang. I'm fine with making him extremely fast. I'm fine with making him extremely violent. I'm fine with making him like rip you off your shoulders and like launch itself off of walls instead of being stunned. And I'm fine with all of that. But getting rid of the only hit zone value that you can reliably hit with certain weapons it's just not a good decision in my book. You know, he's much harder to fight, not because you're not because you're not exploiting the windows. And this, I like how he has different windows than this one. He actually has more windows to fight him, but but that's just me complaining, I guess. He does have different windows and you can hit him more often. He's more dangerous, of course, but he has different ways to deal. You have different ways to deal with him, I think, and I think it kind of stands out from normal Rajan. You have to hit his head instead of hitting his tail. And they specifically tell you to hit its tail, and that's what I've been doing so far. His tail does not get cut off; it only gets like broken, so you can keep attacking it even after it's broken. Because that's the way you fight normal Rajan. But all of a sudden, you have to hit the head, and there's a few problems with it. First of all, the head is where he spits lightning from. And second, his arms are next to the head, so if you're not precise enough, you hit the arms, right? Which may be toughened up, so you bounce off of them, and then you have to use Mind's Eye and change your entire build, and it's just a little bit annoying. But I think aside from that little point where you don't have the same hit zone values, aside from that, it's just amazing overall design. I fucking love Rajang. I can relate to him. He's a big mad monkey. Yeah, I think they deserve to be there. This one goes here. You know, it's just good. I love its design. Its design is like one of the best, if not the best looking monster in this entire goddamn game. It's a really fun fight. Some kind he just kind of like just kind of like his tamales are great, so you can like just hit him. There's some cool blind spots in his attacks that you can use, but I guess that's like rewarding you for like adapting to him and not really. The monster tries to fight back. It's not fight of Halazak. But yeah, he's a decent fight. He has some attacks where he turns around and instantly sprays you with water, and there's not really anything you can do about that. The water on the ground would be annoying to deal with, but it's not because it's not the same as this guy's, where if you are over the water, you get an ailment. No, they're just kind of there, and they act as warnings for his next attack. So if he sprays the ground with electricity, you know exactly where the electricity is going to spread. You know exactly the size of the hitbox. If you're standing on a dangerous place or not. I like the whole moving the water stuff. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes he spams that attack and you just kind of get dragged by the waves over and over again. And yeah, it's kind of annoying when it comes to that, but what can you say? I'm talking about fucking Namiel, dude. Namiel is one of the greatest monsters in this game. I don't know why I don't put him there. I just don't think he has enough personality to it, you know? Because he's like sort of this like Lovecraftian looking monster, and when it comes to Lovecraft, you don't really understand what their motives are, or what their personality is. He's just kind of like a monster. He's not super violent, he's not super calm, he's creepy looking, which is a great plus, but it doesn't stand out as much as these ones. And his place in the story is just like, yup, he just kind of there, he just kind of shows up and he's there, you have to fight him. And he's a cool fight. He's like design his fight design wise alone should be in here, but it's in his design, like his visual design alone also should be in here. But it's just the personality. He's just kind of bland. You know, he doesn't feel overly violent. He doesn't feel overly soft. He's just kind of like a monster. And his fight, although very engaging, is not as chaotic or as tough as these ones. And he's just kind of great. He's just a great fight. It's fun to fight. You just go in and punch him a few times and have a great time. This guy jumps around a lot. There's nothing really stand out to him. He's not a bad fight, but he's not a amazing fight. There's not really I have to say about this guy. He's cool looking. His tail slam attacks are really satisfying to punish if you know how to dodge them. If you can dodge them, you can break his wings to knock it down. I think can break its tail as well. His glowing eyes design is really dope, but he just kind of like launches at you and twirls around and moves around a lot. And he's kind of annoying to fight. He's kind of like in the same realm as this guy, although I don't. He doesn't have like ice blight. He does have bleed status. Now that I think of it, but he doesn't use it as often as this guy uses ice. Uh, and I think it's just a little bit more fun than this guy. Design wise, I think they're both equally cool, but I guess it's the lack of ice blight that really puts it in here, and the fact that the tail attacks are actually really dope and really cool and really easy to not easy, but really satisfying to punish. This guy. Now, this guy and this guy suffer from the exact same problem, which is builds. If you have the right builds to fight these guys, they are absolute pushovers. But if you don't, they go on this category. So, what do I do with them? I don't know. I mean, I kind of like how this guy actually his whole thing is the sleep, but he doesn't put clouds on the ground and waits for you to pass over them. He actually like manipulates them. He's you know what? His design is actually really cool because he sucks the air in and all of the sleep clouds move towards him and then he smashes on the ground and he like does this big thing that damages you. And I know it damages you because I use sleep protection against this guy and it's still fun to fight him. So I think I'm gonna put this guy in here. You know, if you have the right build to fight him, he's really cool fight because he like sprays it all over the thing and but I don't know the spraying all over the spraying all over and manipulating the clouds. It's only meaningful if you can get affected by them. So kind of. I'm just gonna put him over here. This guy, no, this guy does not fucking. This guy's annoying. This guy, the only saving grace is his design. He poisons way too much, and you can only bring like five of those things that like the antidotes, but the better antidotes, the medicine herbs or whatever. So you can only cure his poison like a specific amount of times, and it's just annoying to deal with him. This guy's design, I think, is a little bit cool. I think the idea of being able to move the clouds around with the wind, it's like a very cool addition to his wind powers. And you know what? I'll put him in here. I just in his design is really really dope, and his weapons are the sleep weapons, which are really dope as well. I use his weapons all the time, or his sword and shield all the time to put monsters to sleep. So his weapons are really dope. His design is really dope. The fight design is really dope. The only thing that's really hindering it is the fact that it's sleep status, and sleep status isn't really that. It's like one of the most boring status because you know you just kind of go to sleep. Like, why does the game have to wait for you to get hit? Why can't it just hit you and move on? Anyways, this guy. I'm gonna put this guy over here. And you're probably asking yourselves, why do you put this guy in the annoying class and why do you put this guy in the great fight class? After all, this is a bigger, more threatening, probably or supposedly more annoying version than this guy. What the hell, dude? And the first time I thought this guy, I thought he was annoying as hell, but as I thought him more and more alone, I realized that he was actually pretty good. Like his back and forth dashing is actually pretty good. His size kind of hinders the fight a bit, as the same point as I made with Xenojiva, where he's too big sometimes. But it's not that much of a hindrance. And of course, his final phase where he destroys the entire mountain and everything is chaotic, and basically it's a time limit before he explodes all of the puddles, and it's a really intense, really cool fight. Even if you're fighting alone, it's really dope. And the thing is, this guy is always alone. You always fight him alone. You don't. You have a. You need to have a specific build to fight it with, of course, blast resistance if you don't want to have, if you don't want to have a bad time. This guy comes with other monsters, meaning that if you fight other monsters, if you're fighting him along with other monsters, you're gonna have to change the build only for him. You know, it's the kind of same problem with this guy, where you can fight him with other monsters, and it just makes it annoying to fight them because you don't have the right build because you're fighting two monsters at a time. And this is not the case for this guy, and this is not the case for this guy as well, because they always fight alone. So you only need to bring one build and not need to change nor need to be unprepared. They are big fights, they are big bosses, they're like final bosses. So it's not a problem to make a specific build for them. This guy. Now you're expecting me to put this guy on the top with this guy, right? But the problem is I won't. This guy is just way too good. It's just way too well designed, and this guy seems like a it seems like a natural progression, but at the same time, it feels like overkill. I know what they were trying to do was basically make a master rank version of the newbie friendly monster, right? Because if you're experienced at the game, you'll just destroy this guy, right? And they were trying to make like a, now you need to break even more parts that are even tougher. And now he has attacks where you have to like, it's a tighter window to dodge and stuff like that. But it's actually exactly that. First of all, he loses his most iconic attack in favor for multiple smaller powerful attacks, which I think was the stupidest mistake they did. They should have made like a huge attack for this guy, but instead he just has lots of smaller ones that he spams, and it's just annoying. You know, from 15, it's like 2 minutes, the fight stops to this guy to roar and then go into the sky and then smash down. And sometimes they don't even aim at you. Sometimes they just hit whatever. Sometimes you don't, it's not even a threat most of the times because it's just they completely miss you. Not to mention, if you have a shield, it's just not a problem whatsoever. It's just not a problem. He roars, fine. You shield, problem fucking solved. I mean, come on. And it's not. I put him in the great fights. He's a great fight. He's awesome. I think it's a great sort of almost final boss. He's like, I think his design is awesome. Metal spikes. How could you go wrong with that shit, right? I like his place in the story, where he kind of like hypes you up for the final boss, and I like he's even more violent, which is something that I like. Even more violent. This guy, there comes a point in this fight where this guy is basically this guy. He just not stop attacking. He just spams attacks that are just super fast and super damaging. There are some attacks that are a little bit bullshit. There are some attacks that he does instantly and they do a ton of damage. Like the 360 slam, the 180 slam. There's attack that he does this dash attack with his hand that does a ton of damage, and it has a huge range and it's like instant. There's this little fast swat with a paw that goes into a smash, and the problem is that doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's so fast. You can like, and you're done. You got hit by it. It doesn't do that much damage, but it's really fucking fast and really annoying. He doesn't give you enough time to put your weapon away when he roars before he smashes onto the ground, which I think is stupid. I think it should. It's really hard to dodge his like ultimate attacks sometimes, which is exactly the opposite of this. This guy, you can dodge it 100% of the times. I've rarely been hit by his final attack because it's just so consistent and it's just so forgiving, and it rewards you to, using the mechanics. This one, I just think it's like they wanted to one up his ultimate, but instead they just made it more dangerous for the sake of being more dangerous. It doesn't really teach you anything. You just kind of like, if you don't dodge the roar and if you don't have a shield, well, good luck. which I guess it's the point. He's a threatening monster. He's not a pushover anymore. He's the ruiner nerd gigante, which makes him one of the toughest monsters in the whole franchise or in the whole game. And he deserves to be up here for sure with the big boys. But yeah, he's not as good as this one, I think. I mean, what can I say? I'm disappointed with this guy. To be honest, his design is disappointing. The only thing that saves Xenojiva is his design. He's an alien dragon. He shoots lasers out of his mouth. He has 6 eyes. All right, this guy is aliens as aliens can be. He was born from a space egg. Are you kidding me? And when he grows up, he just becomes fucking a normal looking dragon. Where's the 6 eyes? The lasers are not even thematically fitting. He should breathe fire, you know? He looks like a normal fire dragon. Like, come on. He was a cool ass alien dragon, and now he's just a normal looking dragon. He's not a sapphire star. He's just a dragon. You know, a dragon. He's cool looking. Don't mind me, but he's not what we were expecting of an adult Xenojiva. Not at all. You know, and it's kind of disappointing. His fight, it's annoying if you don't have a ranged weapon. It's annoying because he kind of like smashes his paws on the ground, and that's the problem with him being really big. He just kind of like wailing at his legs, and it's just you wail at his legs until he gets tired of you and just swats you away, you know. And it's not really fun. I think the farm is definitely more fun than this one. I think the whole mechanic where if you have a weapon, it just gives you weapon of the same type you're using, or gives you more weapons of the same type you're using. I like the fact that all the weapons are the same aside from the element. And like this girl, where you basically needed a very specific hammer amongst the list of like fucking 20 hammers, you know? This guy is just, you want the fucking longsword? Fine, just use, it doesn't really matter if you want elementless, you can just go with whatever longsword you find. If you want to go with the long shelling gun lance, you can just literally pick any single one of the things because they're all the same. They don't have stats. The stats don't differ, you know. And I like how the reason why you farm them is to upgrade the weapons instead of just having them, and it gives me like hope, because fighting Kulterov sometimes felt hopeless. You would just farm her over and over and over and over again, and you would get jack shit. This one, you can easily get the weapons that you want. You just have to find enough materials to upgrade them, and it feels rewarding when you finally upgrade the weapons. So I think his loot system is way better designed than Kulturov was. Not to mention that his fights is way more forgiving. Sometimes you have to fight him twice in a row, but that's about it. That's like the second time you fight him is like the time you kill him. Most of the times, sometimes you can even kill it first time, no problem. It doesn't. You don't even the ridiculous levels of precision and teamwork that you needed to first time Kulterov. But Kufterov, sometimes you fought her 3, 4 times and you got a shitty loot. And this guy, you can just fight 1, 2 times and get the loot you want. So his loot is just way better. Fight wise, I think I preferred Kufterov a little bit more. I think her design is way more, it's way cooler. It's a fucking golden dragon. It has like huge gigantic horns. This one's just a fucking dragon. I'm sorry, Safejiva, but in my book, I like to fight you. I like to just relax, pull out my water bow gun, and just shoot you from afar. But fighting you up close with the sword and shield is. I like also the mechanics that it has from Behemoth, where you attract him and stuff. That's kind of cool, but not really worth. This guy over there, of course. This guy is just this guy, but even more crazy. I actually enjoy fighting this guy more than I enjoy fighting this guy. So, yeah, he has a huge dragon explosion, goes all over the place. He's like every time you grapple onto his face, you take damage because He's like spewing dragon element out of it. Really cool concept. He has crazier spin moves and stuff. He's just overall a great time. I don't think I need to tell you why this fucking guy is up here. This guy. This guy is like the redemption arc of this one. He's, you know, hmm, yeah. I mean, hmm. Yeah, and you know what? I'll put him here. He's the redemption arc of this guy. He's way better, but still not there yet. But this is kind of this guy's fault. He no longer drops bombs at the bottom of his feet. Now he drops bombs like far away, and they're big, big bombs, which kind of like he sometimes drops at his feet, but not as often as this one, which kind of emphasizes, it gets rid of a lot of the problems that this guy had. He's no longer an annoying invader, which automatically takes him out of this category, and he's just way more enjoyable to fight. So why is he in this category? Doesn't really stand out. It's because of this guy's moveset. His moveset basically consists of him dashing around from one side to another and then smashing his face on the ground. And he has some tail attacks that have a ridiculously small hitbox, and you can just stand below him and not get hit by it at all. And you just kind of stand on his feet and wail at him. Now that the bombs are far away, you don't have to worry about it. He's just kind of a pushover, to be honest. And that's bad because he's like a pseudo elder dragon. He's like with these guys up here, he should be up here, but instead he's here because his moveset is just so bland. The most dangerous thing about his moveset was the exploding bombs. And now that they got rid of that, he's just kind of there. He just kind of waves around his tail and dashes from one side to another, and not really the funnest fight you can have. I'm sorry, but this fight was amazing. I could barely believe that I was playing Monster Hunter while I was fighting this guy, and that's all I have to say. The whole story. This is like the redemption arc of Safi Jiva, was of Xenojiva. This is like a good final monster. You know, his whole design, his whole story, his powers are so peculiar. The fact that you have to like uncover him at the start, such an amazing fucking experience when he finally opens his wings and unleashes this alien looking, flowery monster with fingers for wings. It's just such a peculiar an interesting moment. It's so good. His fight is not even that great. Well, it is great. It is super great, but it's not like super super great. It's just because of one thing, just because of the fucking puddles that he leaves everywhere that are kind of annoying. But as you fight him more, you learn to deal with the puddles. And the first time you fight him, it's a little bit confusing because the puddles seem to just explode at random, when in reality they only explode when he attacks them. And you kind of like understand that after you fight him. You learn from his fight, but it's just overall like there's a cool factor to his fight as well. That his ultimate is fucking amazing. Fucking vibration spirit orb, stupidly awesome. Of course, his beam attacks that he's always spamming look awesome. They're not really that threatening, but he has threatening attacks. He has these attacks where he like rubs his wings along the ground and it makes the puddles follow you and explode. And he has these like kind of precision lasers that he hits you, and he kind of like, he has dangerous attacks. He is a tough fight. He has this factor to his fight where you want his head. Like at some point, his gear was the top gear, so people were like out going for his headpiece, which is really hard to break. So he kind of adds this like layer of strategy where you and your team have to both like equip weapons in or invent strategies where you hit his head only, because his head is so tough that you're gonna have to coordinate yourselves, and it gives you a reason to fight it. Gives you a reason to fight it in new ways. And his weapons are amazing. His armor are amazing. His armor is amazing. It's just overall amazing. This guy's dope. This one goes over here. This is like Legiana with more ice attacks. No, thank you. His design is cooler, but it's still Legiana. It's still the Flappy Bird of Monster Hunter. It's still the whoop. I'm behind you. Now, what are you gonna do about that? You know. I'm getting tired of speaking. My voice is like dying. All right, these two. Boop, 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 boop. And this guy. Okay, let me explain you why. First of all, Rathian being more iconic than Rathalos has always been a thing, and it's a thing with the Silver Wraths again, with the Metal Wraths as well. We're talking about like tail attacks where she spins around. We're talking about huge fireballs, giant fireballs, explosions. Design wise, she stands way more than this guy does. She's just I love her fight. Her weapons are top tier or used to be top tier when the game came out, so you really wanted to fight her. And the whole having to break the head is cool and all. I mean, it doesn't really change anything. You're gonna go for the head anyways. If you cut the tail, if you cut the tail, you're gonna go for the head anyways, and you're gonna break the head eventually and still do damage to it. So I don't know what the purpose of the whole tough head is. I guess you don't do that much damage to it in the first part of fight. Doesn't really change anything. But same thing happens with this guy. The head is still tougher. But the reason why this guy is over here is because his flame attacks are a little too tough and his claw attacks are a little too annoying. They have huge sweep attacks and it's just he flies all the time. It's just kind of annoying to deal with him. I know that you can knock him out and I know that good players find them fun. And just because I find them annoying doesn't mean that it's bad design. It's well designed. Both of the rats are way better than they used to be. Like it's not even comparable. They're way more fun to fight. But Silver Rathian, as in my opinion, is just like one of the best monsters around, and it really ties the whole Rathian thing together. I think it picks up the iconicness of her and just like turns it up to 11. She has way more tail attacks. She uses her tail attacks way more often. They're not that crazy. You can punish them really good if you know how to, which has that whole like forgiveness, I guess, to her attacks. But she's tough. She's tough as all nails, dude. She fucking wrecks your ass. I'm still a little bit afraid to fight her. She's like one of the top tier monsters in this list. All right, she's tough, and you can feel that she's tough, and you can feel that it's still Rathian, but now even tougher than she was. Her moves are crazy. The big ass fireball. These guys, I fought him so many times. And I honestly think that, I was going to put them in the great fights, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put these two guys in here. Maybe. Because there's nothing bad about them. They have Thunderblight and Dragonblight. In Dragonblight, in case of this guy. But none of those blights are really detrimental unless you're going for elemental. They have attacks that are really powerful, but they're really predictable. And once you find a way to dodge them, you can just maneuver around him super easily. Especially this guy. I would put this guy above this guy. This guy's design is really dope, and his fight is really dope, and I really enjoy his fight. But this guy actually like surpasses it somehow. I thought he was gonna be bullshit. I thought he was just he's gonna be this guy with like dragon and lightning everywhere and you won't be able to dodge shit. But no, all of his attacks are very consistent and you can dodge all of them if you put enough practice into it. It's just his ultimate attack is awesome, and once you learn how to effectively evade it, it's you're actually expecting him to do it because he has a huge window afterwards and rewards you for not getting hit by the attack, which is very hard because there's lightning everywhere and he's jumping around like a crazy monkey and stuff. and it's really good to fight these guys. Their design is awesome, their fight is awesome, their gear is awesome. They have fucking guitars for hunting horn. You know, you need this guy's gear to augment your stuff, so you have to fight him multiple times. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing about this guy. There's nothing wrong about these guys, right? That's why they're up here. They're just good fights. They are meaningful. They are fun to fight. They are fan favorites. They look good. They fit in the environment. Everyone was expecting them, and when Capcom delivered them, everyone enjoyed their fights. So that's how you do monsters. That's the objective, is to have fucking fun. Velkana goes into great fights. She's a good Elder Dragon, I think. Ice is a little bit annoying to deal with, but I like that. I don't like the fact that. Okay, that's the problem. That's the big problem with Velkana. The reason why she's not in here. You cannot block her attacks unless you have guard up, which is just stupid. Her beam attacks are not even that dangerous. Like, come on. Yeah, well, the structure that she makes are kind of cool. Cool, interesting design. You can like destroy half of the pillar and then jump off the pillar and it do mounting damage on her. Really dope. You can grapple onto her while she does some attacks, which basically negates all of the damage, which is really dope. I think kind of rewards timing and running around. I just don't like the disconnected attacks that she has, like the little ice that drops from the sky, the fact, that's the type of stuff that I don't really like about her. Her tail attacks having a huge lingering hitbox where you dodge them and you backstep through them and you still get hit, you know. But some of her attacks are predictable. She has really nice hits on values, so she's not annoying to fight. And you can kind of like dodge around her beams and like Superman dive and like use her structures against her and grapple onto. She's just a great fight. I don't think she's as good a mascot as this guy is. Uh, just because she just looks, her design is a little bit lacking, to be honest. She's just an ice dragon. You know, this guy is a fucking living porcupine. I think its design is way more interesting than this one. But whatever. It's still a great. Actually, I think I'm gonna move her over to this one. She's a fun fight. But she does have the pillars and the whole like ice theme and I think I'll just keep her in here. You know what? She's the flagship, and she doesn't disappoint. She's not a disappointment. She does a good job being the flagship. She's not really that memorable though. At end game, I barely fought her, but her gear is pretty good and her weapons are really good. Yeah, she's a great fight. I'll leave her there. This guy, this guy is also a great fight. I have this guy is really chaotic. And in the old games, I had a really hard time with him, but he's kind of fixed in this one, you know. And his wings are still hard as hell to hit, which is kind of annoying. But that's the really only bad thing I have about him. He's just a very fast, very chaotic dragon, and the game actually hints you at that. It's just you have to wait for it to tire out. You have to use because he has like very fast attacks, but they have like a big drawbacks, like big animations where he's just recovering from them. The fireballs and stuff. You can like hit him pretty well. Not mention like his head is really big and he's a really good hits on value. So if you have like something like hammer and anything like that, and he's like really close to the ground, so it's easy to hit. So it's really fast and chaotic, but it's not exactly hard to hit his weak point. Knocking him out is not really that hard. And even though he kind of like dashes around all over the place, he's fun to fight. I think he's a good introduction to the bird wyverns, and he's a good strong bird wyvern that can even challenge that of the might of Devil Joe. I like his personality as well. Fans were telling me that, oh, the crazy chicken, the guys were like, this guy's crazy, he dashes all over the place and he spits fireballs and he's poisonous and he's like half Rathian, half Kutku and stuff. He's like the strongest bird wyvern, dude. This is like This is like the boss of the small guys, you know. And like we'll see when he gets to the new world and completely delivered. His personality is as chaotic can be. He's a mad chicken. He flies and spits fire all over the place. He's cool. I like his design. He's really really dope. So that's it. There's still some monsters left in here, like Frost Frank Barioth, that I maybe would put him over here. Yeah, in the it's a fight. It's kind of annoying. The ice thing is kind of annoying, but his weapons are really cool, and his design is really really cool. I really like his visual design way better than I like Barioth. His design alone would be the great by a great fight. It's really design is really really good. I really like the beard and the blue eyes and the ice fangs. It's really dope. His weapons have a really cool design. Some of them. What more am I missing? Frostfang Barioth and Alatraeon is here, and Fatalis, which is to come. So yeah, this is like my monster tier list. This is I've explained every single monster. I've explained why I don't like / like them. And yeah, see you guys next time.